Hey guys, welcome to Roadie 7 with Shuts and Boom, Season 2, Episode 9. I am Shuts.
I'm Boom.
Boom, the skies are falling around the Nebraska area since last Saturday.
You know what? I'm good over here.
I'm pretty good. I'm a hell of a lot better than I was Saturday night.
You know, you weren't all that great.
I was not great. Boy, did that party clear out quick.
I was fine. Yeah, the party, I don't know that I have ever, and here's the thing. I have been to, I think this is number 4.
I think this is 4 for
I think this is the 4th one I've been to.
It rained that one. We had that rain out, remember?
Yeah, the rain, I think, is the only one where we won. We haven't really won any of these since I've been coming around.
I think we're 1-3 with Boom. You're a damn curse.
Your dad might uninvite me moving forward if that's the case.
Well, I'm not. The Oracle will not allow me to go to season openers ever since we lost to BYU. Probably the first time in my life. You go back, I think we lost the year I was born, and then, the one time I went to a season opener we lost in 26 years.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. But you know who, at the end of the day, I think you turn to me at the party and you go, hey, could be Tennessee right now.
We could be Tennessee. We
could be Florida State.
Or UCLA.
Or Kansas. Well, Kansas, that's an easy one.
Yeah, they're an easy target.
They're easy, but everybody had that big splash. And, Parts could say, yeah, you did the same thing when you hired Scott Frost.
Big splash.
Big splash. Les Miles and the Mad Hatters down there or down at Kansas, and oh my God, it's going to change. They're kind of easy, but they're just fun because they are just such a basketball school.
You know what, though? How sad is it? Honestly. I mean, we're talking Nebraska-ish. We're talking disappointments. Hell, let's be honest. How sad is it that the only enjoyment we've gotten so far this football season is making fun of those that are even less fortunate than we are?
It's always fun. I don't care if we go back in the night. It's always fun to peck on the, we could call them dumpster fires. What's the name? You said it was a good one? Not the cellar dwellers. You called them.
Oh, crap. What was it? Bottom of the barrel.
Bottom of the barrel.
Bottom of the barrel teams.
Scraping the barrel. No, we'll leave Kansas alone. Willie Taggart, I'm beginning to jump on your ship. He doesn't survive this season.
He barely won, right? They won, didn't they?
They beat Louisiana Monroe 25-24.
Stellar.
Yeah,
I think you're mispronouncing stellar.
Yes,
instead of
survive.
Taggart.
Stellar
is what you meant.
Yeah, they're playing Virginia. We'll get to the top 25 and all of that. Plenty of dive into Nebraska this week. Wow. I mean, I don't mean to tell you I told you so because I kind of cheated. I kind of cheated on my pick'em, and my brother has not forgotten to remind me of that. But I said that we'll get to it. I said that game was going to be either a blowout Nebraska, which it was for a half, or it's going to be a heartbreaking loss, which it ended up being.
Correct. And I was wrong, but if I would have been placing the bet, I would have won. No. Because I thought we'd win, but I didn't think we'd cover. And obviously, if you lose outright,
they didn't cover.
They didn't cover that 4 points that it was last week when we were doing the show.
So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting week. We're going to get to it, but I can't tell you how interesting these coming weeks are because I'll tell you what last Saturday, and we'll get to kind of a recap. Not really, but these next 2 weeks, we're not even getting to Ohio State. These next 2 weeks are so crucial to this staff. This was a game where it was 53,000, I think, Folsom holds. And I would say, would you say low ball, 30,000 of them were Nebraska fans?
Yes. I would say that at the least, we were talking 50-50 split. I would lean more towards 65. 35.
It was
in favor of Nebraska.
At $200 ahead. It was an iconic picture like you did the old Notre Dame back in the early 2000s when they showed up there. Balled out.
However, I will say this. I hope that doesn't happen the next home and home we have with them.
I don't either.
Because I would rather not give those hillbillies Nebraska earned money.
Yep, and it's exactly that. That was a tough loss on many scales. We're going to get to it. That the psychology of it and how big of a loss that truly was, and really, it hurt. No, fans are always hurt when they lose, but this one was significantly bad.
Literally, that your party cleared out within a half an hour.
A half an hour, we went from 20-some people there to you and me.
You, myself, your folks, your grandma.
That was it.
The rest were gone.
Goodbye. It was holy cow. So let's go to the Pick'em 25, shall we?
Pick'em.
What do you think? Is there any games this week that really intrigue you in the top 25?
No.
Well,
there aren't any football games, period, that intrigue me.
This week?
None. The Nebraska game doesn't intrigue me.
Well, it doesn't me either, actually. Actually, there's one, and we'll get to it in the Big Ten coverage. There's one, Iowa State, just because it's more local.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I mean, crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually tweeted about that the other day.
That's going to be an interesting.
The Cy-Hawk Trophy, and this is the exact words. I will bleep one because we say shit every now and then, and that's one thing. But okay, so my heart says ISU, and my head says F Iowa. That's kind of how I feel about that.
All right, so moving on to the top 25. Boom has let us know how he feels.
Yeah, exactly.
Your boy, I'm high on him. I really am. I've always thought he was a good coach. Leach, Washington State taking on Houston. Washington State by 9.5.
Drop him.
I'm going to go with you on that. Yeah, I like Washington State in that one. Georgia at home against Arkansas State. Georgia by 33.
Drop it.
I'm with you. Ohio State, Indiana at Indiana. Ohio State by 18.
Drop it. I'm in a dropping kind of mood.
You're dropping like it's hot. Everything.
I'm kind of like pants on prom night. Drop it.
He doesn't have a date, but he just drops pants on prom night.
Just drop the pants on prom night. Absolutely.
Pittsburgh, Penn State. I think this one's going to be more interesting than people give it. I think it's a Penn State win, but I don't know that I give these points. What I'm about to say. 13th ranked Penn State versus Pittsburgh. Penn State by 17.
I'm going to drop it. I am full on board with Penn State being an incredibly good team this year, just so that James Franklin doesn't have to live there anymore.
Well, you may be right, and this may be a foolish, but I'm going wild. Because you ever notice a couple weeks of these, I've gone a little insane,
and that's okay.
I actually, they always either it's a blowout, again, like last week's prediction, it's either a blowout or it's a tight one. Well, that's not saying much, but I think that for some reason, I don't know what it is, I think that this is going to be tighter than the experts think. I'm going to take the points.
Okay, fair enough.
Maryland, holy God, you want to talk about a team in the Big Ten that's come so far.
And we'll get to that because we are going to go over our big list.
Yeah, we're going to go over the big list. So we'll cover them. They're playing Temple. But I'm surprised at that. 6.5. That's all they're favored by with Temple.
I'm going to keep with my theme of dropping them. Drop the points.
I'm going to join you because through almost this weekend will be the 25% into the season. We're a quarter of the way in. Maryland looks like world beaters. What they're doing now,
and that's going to change. It will change.
Well, now they've played Howard, and they did play 21st Syracuse. And sorry, Nebraska's in that group of that 20 to 25. You can interchange them that your opposer.
Now we're also going to see while you're at Memorial Stadium Saturday, I will not be watching Nebraska. I will be watching Clemson taking on that very same Syracuse team. I believe that's the ABC game.
Yep.
On Saturday night. So we'll see. I'm interested to see what Clemson does against
you gotta
that
watch
same team.
Nebraska. He will. He's giving everybody crap.
I'm dead serious. I am not watching the Huskers this weekend. I am watching the number one team in the country at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday.
All right, Boom. Boom's darker than I am. I've been in the dark phase, but Boom's getting darker than me tonight. Notre Dame versus New Mexico. Notre Dame by 35. And there's that line again.
I'm taking those points.
So am I.
First time tonight. I'm taking points.
It's hard for me to bet when you get into the 35s and 40s.
Well, it's hard for me to bet that kind of a line with a Notre Dame team. You're talking about Jekyll and Hyde with Notre Dame.
Yeah,
they're one team until all of a sudden they're not, and it happens every year.
I think that they're going to roll New Mexico, but I don't. 35 is a bit much. I'm gonna go ahead and take the points. Alabama, South Carolina at South Carolina. Alabama by 25.5.
Dropping it.
You gonna drop 25.5?
I think Saban has a lot to prove too. You've got young Dabo, who has become the man, and you've got Nick Saban
on his farewell tour.
I said it before the season started. They win the national championship this year. He rides off. He's done. He walks away on top. So yeah, I'm going to drop those points.
Stanford, I'm gonna.
You're a seller on Stanford this year, man.
I am. I'll say that I'm gonna drop the points too. Stanford, UCF, UCF by 8.5.
I'm dropping the points.
I'm dropping the points too. Stanford. The Pac-12's a cluster. Now, granted, Nebraska just lost to a Pac-12 team. Had no business losing to them. If you watch that game, no business losing to them. Something going on in the locker room. We'll get to that at Nebraska. I have some pretty good ideas. But UCF, I think UCF stomps them. 8.5, I'm selling those all day. USC, BYU. USC by four at BYU.
Listen, I don't know what to think right now about USC because before the season started, and I still think at the end of the day something happens. They crap the bed, so to speak, before the end of the year, and he ends up fired. But they're 2-0. They're 2-0. I didn't expect them to win last week.
I'm going to actually, before you give yours, I'm going to jump in and say that BYU wins it. That's a snake pit.
You think BYU wins outright?
I think they win. They're 1-1, and this is another one of my crazy bets this week.
All right, you know what? I'm going to join you.
I'm
going to join you in that.
I think it's a snake pit, and I think they go in there and drop. They drop to BYU.
And the only reason I'm going with you on that is because I've become probably what many would consider a hater. Even though I don't hate USC, I'm so hell-bent that he's getting fired this year.
You got to jump on somewhere.
And a Big Ten coach or a former Big Ten coach will take that job.
All right. Jumping ahead, we'll get to the Big Ten. Idaho State at Utah. What a yawn. Absolute yawn. Utah by 36.5.
I don't know.
I don't either.
I'm not touching that game.
It's the Pac-12. I'm not going to. You know what? I'm going to say take the points. 36.5. Utah kind of wish-washy. They played Northern Illinois. They ended up pulling away in the end. But no, you know what? Take the points in that one. That's a crazy bet. Kent State at Auburn. Woo. My boy Ian Huggs.
War Eagle.
Yeah, War Eagle. By 36. War Eagle.
Taking the points.
Are you really?
I'm taking the points.
I'm not. I think that Gus has got to play keep up with their hated rival across the state. I think that Gus is going to try to run that one up. And they should. Fine. Here's one for you. Number 9, Florida. At Kentucky, Florida by 8.5.
Dropping the points.
I'm not. Actually, I have an upset here. Upset alert. I have Kentucky winning this. And dropping it somewhere along the way. I'm not sold on Florida. I'm not. As a top.
I'm not a big believer either, but I'm also not sold on Kentucky.
No,
football.
I have nothing to go on. I just know how crazy college football is. I have a Kentucky win there. I'm probably going to eat my words on that one. Lamar University. Boy, the SEC can pick them. Not that the Big Ten's much better, but Lamar, not even Division I, taking on Texas A&M. Texas A&M by 43.5.
I'm going to give you a little background story on Lamar. Back when I was at Central High School, about every 3 or 4 days, Lamar and I would get bored and skip. We'd head downtown. What did you say the point spread was on that?
43.5.
I'm going to drop the points, even though it's probably not advisable. I'm going to drop them.
I'm going to take them because they're 1-1, and he doesn't want to risk an injury against Lamar, and they end up winning 42-0. All right, here's a game Boom is hell-bent on watching. I don't know why. The spread is 27.5, but he's going to watch it. Clemson at Syracuse. Clemson by 27.5.
I'm a fan of Trevor Lawrence. And you can call me bandwagon if you want. That dude is...
He's a gamer.
He's smooth. I mean, he is smooth. He has got all the talent in the world around him. I am a big fan of Dabo Swinney and what he has been able to do. I'm not a bandwagon guy, and it's not like I'm all about Clemson. I like the way Dabo coaches. I like how much he gets out of his players. And I like the fact that, as you had said, that was a school that was a sleeping giant for years. He woke them up.
Yep.
He made them into what they are right now. That is all Dabo. Yeah, I'm going to be watching that. Yeah, I'm going to drop those points.
I am too. I think that whatever Maryland can do to Syracuse, Clemson
they can do better.
Yeah. And that's actually a reasonable 27.5 surprises me. That's actually reasonable. Northwestern State at LSU by 51. You know what? I'm taking the points, and I'll tell you why. Not that they couldn't hang that much on them.
Right.
They just played a game against Texas in an emotional game. One, last weekend. I didn't say this is a hangover. Northwestern State has a prayer, but 51's an awful lot to give after you had an emotional game the week before. I'm taking the points on that, believe it or not. That's probably a little crazy too, but 51's just too much.
I don't know. I'm thinking. Oh God, that's so many points. Give me the points. Give me the point. 51.
51.
Give me the points.
Hawaii, Washington. Washington had a nice slip up last week, just like our team. They're favored by 21.5. Washington is at home. You taking or giving the points?
I'm taking points. I think they win, but I'm taking points.
Hawaii beat Arizona. Watch out. You know what? I'm going to take the points too. All right, so here's an interesting one. No, not really. There are bottom of the barrel boys. Florida State at Virginia. Virginia by 7.5.
Is Virginia ranked?
25th.
Really?
Yep.
I'm dropping the points. I'm dropping the points.
This game decides if Willie Taggart gets another year.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that it's one of those, and I hate to reference it because we're not in this segment of the show. Mo Berry hit it perfect, and we'll get to this. You only have a couple times this season where you can turn things around. Either things are going to turn around or they're going to start to slide down. Now, with Nebraska, that happened last weekend. That was a huge momentum swing. I didn't say it's doom and gloom. We're still very young into the season. But for Willie Taggart, you beat Louisiana Monroe by a point. You got beat by Boise State. Last year was a dumpster fire for you.
You know what? I'm going to bring something up here, too.
Sure.
Kind of a parallel, in a sense, because in both of those games, Florida State was up and blew a lead. Mm-hmm. Nebraska-esque.
This is a game that if Willie Taggart doesn't get it, I think Virginia's going to win. I'm going to drop the points, too.
Yeah.
I think Virginia's going to win, and that seat is red hot in Tallahassee.
Yeah, it's not going to get much hotter. If you start out the season 1-2 and you last week escape with a 1-point win
over Louisiana Monroe,
you're in trouble.
Oklahoma, that your boy. You want to talk about somebody's seat who I don't think is hot yet, but it is trending quickly towards we may have made a mistake down here. Oklahoma at UCLA, Oklahoma by 23.5.
Drop it. Not even batting an eye. Jalen Hurts by himself is going to score more than 23 points.
I think so, too. I think Chip Kelly's...
He's in trouble.
I think
which for me is hard because last year I was...
all about him.
All about he's going to get things turned around. I don't know. Parallels. Will he get things turned around? Will he not get things turned around?
Define turnaround. We had a conversation.
Via text today, yeah.
And what does turnaround mean? We said pump the brakes before the season. You know who we're hinting at. Turnaround could be that we compete in the West. That could be 5 years. You said to me 5 years till we got this thing turned around. I think it's a 5-year plan. I turned to you and said, 5 years turnaround. What's your definition of turnaround?
Turnaround, is, in my opinion, is competing, legitimately competing for conference championships.
Yeah, and that's who knows.
Now, some are going to say that could still happen this year.
And it could.
That's a hard sell for me.
But I never deal in absolutes. Well, I can deal in an absolute that Tennessee's coach is
bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, is bottom of the barrel. I can deal in the absolute that Willie Taggart clock is running. I can deal with Nebraska's. It's all about momentum. College football is so interesting. And it's not like the NFL. My Saints won, by the way. Did you catch that? Late Drew Brees drove down the field.
My Bears blew it last week, so I'm done with the NFL season.
Well,
outside of individual players, because of my fantasy team.
It's not like the NFL. My point is this: the parallel is this, or the exchange is this. In the NFL, they've lost the last 3 games. Early in the season, what are they? Well, now they're 2-3. The season's wide open. You dropped 3 games in college. Goodbye, absolutely any truth of playoffs. Goodbye, probably chances that you're going to play in a top-tier bowl game.
I would agree.
Every week means that much, and momentum it's such a cruel game, but it's so cool because of it. Every week matters. Every week matters in college. That's what I love. Texas at Rice. Texas by 32.5.
That's tough for me.
They came off a heartbreaking loss to LSU.
I'm taking the points. They may come out. And
you're not big on Texas. You haven't been this whole year. You were not big on them.
And that's not a hate for Texas thing from the old Big 12 days. I'm not a fan of Texas. I'm not sold. Listen, just like I wasn't sold that Nebraska's back, baby, I'm not sold that Texas is back. They're not back yet. I still say that I think Iowa State finishes in front of them at the 2 spot in the Big 12.
All right. I'm going to take the points. I think Texas wins, but I don't know.
So do I.
Boise State, Portland State, yawn. Boise State by 31.5. I'll give the points up. They'll win that. They'll roll that.
I'll agree.
Here's one where, believe it or not, I'm going to take the points on. You may look at me crook-eyed. Montana, the Grizz, versus Oregon. 15th ranked Oregon. Oregon by 37. Now, Oregon did beat Nevada, who beat Purdue.
I'm taking the points.
I'm taking the points too. Montana Grizz and those boys up in the Brawl of the Wild, and they play Montana. They play tough. Montana puts up a lot of points. Granted, it's sub level 1. For some reason, I don't know. I mean, Oregon's coming off of a 77-7 thrashing of Nevada. Next week they play Stanford. I think they overlook this. I think they win, but 37.5. I'm taking the points. I'm taking the points. On to the Big Ten. Boom. Ohio State, Indiana. Ohio State by 18.
Drop it.
I agree. I told you the Pittsburgh Penn State one. Penn State by 17. For some reason, I just see that being a wild game. Maryland, Temple. Maryland by, this is surprising to me. What Maryland's been doing so far. They're playing Temple, at Temple. Maryland by 6.5.
Drop it.
Drop it. Or the smoke and mirrors go away of what Maryland is. But what they did to Syracuse, pretty damn impressive.
Temple, though, I'm dropping 6? Yeah, I'm dropping
6.5, yeah. I'm dropping it, too. Eastern Michigan. Now, listen to this. Your boy, at your boy's house in Champaign. At Illinois. Listen to the spread, though. Eastern Michigan's 1-1. Illinois is 2-0. Illinois by 7. What does that tell you that the bookies say 7 in that one?
What it tells me is that this is the week that Lovey unveils the champagne room. Illinois by 10 in their warm-up before the Huskers come rolling through.
I'm such a hater on the guy, and you laugh and you make fun of me. And
You're not a hater on him like you are PJ.
No, I'm really not, actually.
Even though PJ made What's Bugging Boom this week.
They're undefeated.
That's why he bugs me.
Yeah, they pulled that one. We watched that game together, didn't we?
The Minnesota game,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You and I did watch that
Pulled it
Minnesota
out of their butts.
Yes, they did.
But hey, their overtime offense is much better than Nebraska's.
You mean they're not 0 for 5 in their last 5 overtime games?
Or under Scott Frost, 3 in which they've scored 0 points. Last week's game had -1 yard in their overtime. Moving on. This is not the Nebraska hater show. It's just the Nebraska come to reality show.
Yes, it is.
This episode, anyway.
Yes.
You know what? I'm taking honeymoon's over, Lovey. Well, the honeymoon's been over for a while in Champaign, but this is the one where, oopsie, I have Eastern Michigan winning it. Another one of my bold ones in the Big Ten, anyway. UNLV at Northwestern. UNLV is 1-1. Northwestern 0-1, coming off of a bye week. Northwestern by 18.
I'm taking the points.
You know what? I'm going to join you. Northwestern's offense, anemic.
They have.
You think Nebraska's offense is bad, or you want to play hater, this and that? No. Northwestern's offense, horrible.
Nebraska's offense isn't bad. Nebraska's offense hasn't clicked yet.
It's no consistency. I'm actually going to take the points in that one.
Yeah, I'm taking that. That isn't even a question for me.
Georgia Southern, Minnesota. Your best friend in the world, PJ Fleck, by 15.5.
Drop it.
I'm going to join you. I'm going to join you on that one.
That just seems a little bit low for the opponent. Not that Minnesota's played really well. That just seems low.
Arizona State, Michigan State, at Michigan State.
Drop the points. I don't care what it is.
Really?
Yep.
Both 2-0, Michigan State by 15.
Drop it.
I disagree. I'm actually going to take the points. I think it's a Michigan State win by 14.
Is this at Michigan State?
It is.
Yeah, I'm dropping that in a heartbeat.
Here we go. The game you want to talk about. Seriously, you probably really do. Iowa State, at Iowa State.
Give me the points. Iowa State wins outright. That is my sweet pick of the week.
Iowa by 2.
Give me the points. Iowa State wins outright. Outright.
You said before we hit record, heart or head decision. Well, actually, you said that on the show.
That was on the air.
Yeah, that was on the air. Heart says Iowa State. Head says Iowa.
Head says F Iowa.
Outright.
Outright Iowa State for this guy. Outright win. Give me the points. It's free points.
I'm gonna join you. Iowa State takes it.
There we go.
I'm gonna join you. That was a stupid decision on my part.
Yes, it was.
Once I agree with Boom, we're in trouble. We're in
We're
real
dead.
trouble.
We're done.
You're letting Boom fly the plane?
Yes. Pantless.
TCU Purdue. At Purdue, TCU by 2.5.
That is, I've been wrestling with that ever since. Before the show started, you mentioned that point spread. And I am having like a WWE style, like Ric Flair's on one side, he's like, woo! You know, and then on the other side, like Macho Man's like, the cream of the crop. And it just keeps going back and forth in my brain. I don't know why, and I shouldn't, and I know I'm going to be wrong on this. I think Purdue wins outright. I don't know why. But for the odds makers to only have them as a 2.5-point dog to TCU tells me, and I haven't watched any outside of Oklahoma. I haven't watched any Big 12 football this year. But something must be afoot at TCU.
I think they think it's going to be a shootout. That's what I think.
Okay, and this is being played where?
At Purdue.
That reason alone, I think Purdue wins this game outright.
I think that TCU wins it. I think that Purdue their leading rusher has less than 100 yards in 2 games. I think
that's probably a fair assessment.
And I think that the only reason I'm taking TCU is they're used to shoot 'em out ball. They play in the Big 12.
Well, yeah, but that's what Brahmy does.
It is, but I just think they've been doing it longer.
They have been, but any track meet with Rondale Moore, I'm going to take Rondale Moore.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see on that one.
Yeah.
Thinking of craziness, shootouts, what the hell is going on? The current state of Nebraska, the confusion, the madness. I think for me, I gave this a weeks-long thought. I gave you the post-reaction, and then I thought about it. The reason that Scott Frost, and this is such a big game upcoming, but to reflect real quick on the Colorado game, the reason that everybody in the state of Nebraska loved Scott Frost, and nationally he was a darling, and all this stuff, for me as a fan of 25 years plus, and for most fans, I think the pulse is this. We probably got ahead of ourselves a little bit. We knew it was going to be a rebuilding process. But I turned to you after the game, about an hour after the game, after I calmed down, and I said, that game against Colorado cost him more than you know. Yes, it's one game. The team's got to move on. I agree. We're 2 games into the season. A lot of football left to be played. But like Mo Berry, the linebacker for Nebraska, said in his postgame, you only get a couple times a year momentum games. They decked that stadium out. Mel Tucker was in his 2nd game at Colorado at the helm. Brand new coordinators, brand new system. Nebraska was up 17-0. That game was a wrap. I turned to you and I said, if Nebraska scores one more time to open the game, open the second half, third quarter, this game's over.
You did. You said those exact words.
That team would fold, and they would have. Would have, could have, should have. Same as last year, you blew it. The problem I have is this. You circled that game. Scott circled that game. The fans circled that game. The team circled that game. They talked all that trash. They came out and backed it. And I think at halftime, Scott said this in postgame. I told him this game's going to go one of 2 ways. We're going to either put them away or it's going to be a dogfight. And it was a dogfight until the very end, and they lost. I don't think that neither the team nor Scott was ready for that to be a dogfight. They said that, but I think those players went out there with the mentality they were going to roll and run away with it. It was just going to be given to them. And I think that's exactly what happened.
That is what happened. No one can convince me that Colorado, top to bottom, had better athletes than Nebraska on the field. No. Top to bottom.
Nope.
They had the best wide receiver on the field, which, by the way, was a non-factor.
31 yards. If I'd have told you we held him to 31 yards, knowing nothing else, we held Chenault to 31 yards on 5 receptions, I want to say?
Something like that, yeah.
4 or 5 receptions, 31 yards. You'd say to me, win or loss?
Win.
Kind
of like my Bears.
Yeah.
See, my Bears held Aaron Rodgers to 10 points last Thursday night.
Win.
But they lost.
The defense, they gassed out 24 points in the 4th quarter.
I'm still saying the defense is not the problem.
The defense, they need a few more killers on the D.
They do. They need that same killer instinct that the offense hasn't figured out, that Adrian hasn't figured. Now, I'm encouraged.
I'm encouraged.
Here's why. You want to know why I'm encouraged?
About Adrian?
About the entire situation. Not this year, okay? So don't misinterpret this as me saying, problem's fixed, we're going to roll from here. It's Big Ten championship or bust, because I don't believe that. I don't think this season is a bust if we don't play in Indy. I'll be doom and gloom. I'll be doom and gloom right now enough to say we are not going to Indianapolis. And I hope I have to eat my words. I hope that I tear this clip down at the end of the season when we're doing a show.
We are going to Indy.
And say, well, I look like a moron. Listen, I do not think we're going to Indianapolis. Well, here's why I'm encouraged. For the first time since Scott Frost took over this football team, players were angry after a loss in those press conferences. Adrian Martinez said shit.
Yep.
How many times have you heard him curse?
He was furious.
Okay, Mo Berry was breathing fire.
He was almost in tears. He was so mad.
He
Not tears of he's a pansy. Like so frustrated and furious.
Last year we saw Scott Frost angry after a couple of those games. What we saw from the players was we got to try harder. We got to go back to the drawing board. We got to do this. And you heard a little bit of that, but post game raw reaction, they were pissed off, and that actually encouraged. How many times last year? How many times last year did I say they better play pissed off? Because you know what? Most killers, unless you're a complete and total psychopath or sociopath, aren't real calm the entire time stuff's going down, right? Assassins need to be, and eventually they'll get there. They need to play pissed off. Ruthless aggression. Ruthless aggression. You're up by 17 at halftime. You stomp right on the throat, and you do not let your foot up. If you are the defense, you do not take your foot off the accelerator, not for one snap, not for 1 second, not for one play. They're pissed off. So I'm actually encouraged by this.
I'm encouraged. I still don't worry too much about the D. They went on a flea flicker and everything kind of quicksanded from there because they got no help until the fourth quarter on one drive and one play from the offense. I'm not too worried about the D.
And look, he bit too quick.
Yep.
He bit way too fast on that play.
Yep.
And it happens.
He's young.
It happens.
I don't like, and I'm done shoveling on with it. It is what it is. But that game, the gloves came off and the honeymoon's over for Scott Frost. I am a believer in Scott Frost. I told you
So
afterwards.
am I.
I'm a believer in what they're doing there. People, we said this before the season. Now, I did have Colorado marked as a win. I said to you before the season, I think that they're going to drop 3-4. I think it's going to be a loss to Ohio State. It's going to be a loss to one of the three, Wisconsin, Northwestern, or Iowa, and they're going to have an oops game. I turned to you after the Colorado game and go, is that their oops?
I don't think it is.
Well, it may not be. But
I don't.
But here's the deal. When you talk about Adrian Martinez, here's what I really think. I think you've got the weight of the world on a sophomore that doesn't have a supporting cast. Not yet. I think they're working on it.
I think it's obvious that they don't have that supporting cast just because we're talking so much about, well, we haven't talked about it on the show, Scott Frost bringing up Wandale in the backfield.
Yeah, well, we need to get Wandale
Position coaches talking about Wandale in the backfield.
You know, everybody wants to talk about, well, freshman, he had a lights-out freshman year. I think people don't realize how big Tanner Farmer, Adrian Foster, and our boy Stamo meant. They were seniors. Well, now, hold on, Shuts. Trevor Lawrence is down at, he's doing magical things down at Clemson. Yeah, how many five-star athletes he got supporting him?
Yep.
Tommy Frazier came in as a freshman and balled the rest of the time he was at Nebraska.
Take a look at that offensive line.
Take a look at the offensive line.
Famers.
Yeah, take a look at that O-line. Go ahead and take a look at that black shirt defense he had there. Ballers. Oh, and by the way, that was a coach that had been there for 20 years and had a system well established.
Now, I will say this. The Messiah complex and Scott Frost, that stuff needs to stop now because he's not.
I think he's growing, and I still think he's an offensive genius. But I think
the jury's out on that. I'll give you a nod in that he seems to know offense and he seems to know how to coach offense.
I think he tasted humble pie this last weekend. I think he came out cocky that they had that. They sure had it in the bag. You saw him flustered on the sidelines. Nobody saw that coming.
The Messiah complex with fans though has to stop.
It has to stop
because listen. I honestly do not think we are sniffing Indy this year. And you can say I'm doom and gloom and that I'm not giving up on the team. I'm not giving up on Scotty. I meant that 5-year thing. When I texted you with that wasn't sarcasm, and I know I can be sarcastic. I get that. That is honest and raw opinion. I think we are another 3 years away. 3 years away from really being a competitive Big Ten team, or at least to the point where we're saying, or comfortable saying, that we're going to be competing for a Big Ten championship fairly regularly. We could sneak up next year. We could sneak up next year. But until this team shows me tangible proof on the football field, not in a post-game press conference, not with words, don't just use your words, use the tools that you've been given and use the tools that you have in your raw ability. Get on the field and kick somebody's ass. For 4 full quarters offensively, which we still have not seen from a Scott Frost team.
I think that with Adrian, I think I hold firm in the fact that he is a sophomore without a lot of talent around. He's got talent. They've got pieces, and they sure as hell got a lot of potential. There's a famous word.
Yes.
Your offensive line consists of three juniors, one redshirt sophomore who's never started, or he's got 2 games under his belt, a walk-on at one guard, and you've got a center who I think the sky's the limit on potential, and I think he's going to be a stud. I told you I'm on board with the Cam Jurgens going to be a stud, but folks, he's a freshman.
Now,
freshman.
That being said, I don't think he's the issue on the offensive line. I'm not going to throw kids under buses here. I don't think Cam's the issue.
I think another guard is the issue.
We just don't know which guard it is.
I watched Bo Wilson, though. I'll give the kid props on this. I don't know if it's him or if it's Trent Hickson. I watched Bo Wilson throw a defensive lineman down with one arm. Pancaked a guy with one arm. Threw him down. Consistency, communication. I think that Adrian thinks he's got to be a Heisman. I think that on top of that, when you have a coach that, at least for last week, listen, I am pro Scotty. I want to make that very clear, and I think he's going to lead this team in the right direction. Pump your brakes, we said at the beginning of the season. I'll continue to say it. I think you saw Scott flustered on the sidelines of what was going on. I think that rattled Adrian. I think Adrian's trying to make you got the weight of the world on a kid that does not have the supporting cast. Offensive line-wise, your interior is the crucial part of your team. Everybody argues the left tackle makes the big bucks because he protects the backside of the quarterback. Sure, you're right, especially in the NFL. But if you don't have a center or an interior that can get it done,
you're in trouble.
You're in dead trouble. Scott's offense, zip the ball all around, all this. Actually, it's predicated on the run. We've talked about this on shows. Troy Walters, the offensive coordinator for Nebraska.
And right now, Nebraska cannot run the ball to save their lives.
Not up the middle.
Now, I will say this. Statistically, Nebraska, through 2 games, has one of the best rush defenses in the country. Top 12.
Nebraska, you want to know Nebraska's limit, it's getting that offense clicking. Whatever that may mean to you. To me, there's a famous word. The only thing consistent about our offense through 2 games, and it's only a small sampling, is that we are consistently inconsistent.
That's a great way of looking at it, and a great way to put it.
We are consistently inconsistent.
I truly believe. You did look me dead in the eye and say, we score again, it's over. You said that Saturday.
Yep.
Here's what clicking for me would be for Nebraska's offense. Come out of the gates in the third quarter with the ball. Did we not get the ball to start the third quarter? We did. We got the ball. Okay. I'm not talking about necessarily would a quick strike would have been great. Sure. How about a 4-minute drive with first downs and not a field goal, but another touchdown? Take 5 minutes off the clock right out of the gate to start the second half. Now you've got 10 minutes left in the third quarter. You're up 24-0. As you said, Colorado's quitting. They would quit at that point because they're not going to come back from that. Statistically, you would not think, right? That is what a consistent offense would be. I said it a few minutes ago. Nebraska under Scott Frost, and I'm not saying it's Scott Frost's fault because he inherited a shit show. We know this. They have still yet to put together. Bethune-Cookman does not count. They have not put together
4
full quarters of football on both sides of the ball. Both sides. There have been games where the offense clicked for the most part, but not even a full 4 quarters. I would say there's been a few games where game 1 defense this year, the defense clicked. That was a black shirt defense week 1. And minus a couple of huge plays, they didn't do a bad job last week. They gave up a few terrible reads defensively that cost them big time. The defense is closer to being a completed product.
Which should be, you look at the defense, look at all the seniors. Look at all the seniors, Lamar Jackson, Mo
So
Barrett.
are we scared about next year? You know what I mean? Like next year,
jury's out. They've got so much. They've got jury's out.
They've got some. They've
got plenty of young talent
guys,
behind that is getting some game reps,
especially in the secondary,
and especially your boy Garrett Nelson.
But that defensive line,
we'll see. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
See, now I'm freaking out.
Now, well, we have plenty of time for that. I'm telling you, the offense. I know it's a cop-out, but it's freaking true. If you were to pull up, I'm willing to bet you don't have 5 underclassmen on Clemson's offensive line. I'm willing to bet you don't have 5 underclassmen on Georgia, Oklahoma's offensive line.
I'm pretty sure we actually did bring this up on a show. We talk so much damn football, I never remember what we actually put down on tape and what we don't. But I remember mentioning at some point before the season even started, or maybe, yeah, it was before the season started. It's hard to think, after that loss, do we not feel like we're way past week 2 being in the books? This season is already weighing on my stress levels with being a Nebraska fan.
Well,
because it feels like right now we are midway through a season.
Well, this is because that game meant that much. Oh, it's one game. One game doesn't mean... Yes, it does when it's a momentum swinger. I said this before. I'll say it again. You have 3 or 4 chances. 4 if you're damn lucky. Chances are you have 2 to 3 in a season to really swing things. And that game hurt credentials. It hurt recruiting. It hurt a lot of things. Now, they can bounce back. They can.
And I think they will, to an extent.
They can. We may be singing 2 weeks from now, if there's 2 blowout wins, we're going to be a lot more happy and cheery, and we'll see how it goes. That's very true. Week to week, that's the fan base for you.
But what I was getting at was you hear about on great teams. Okay, we talked about turning back the clock to Tommy Frage, his freshman year, right? And you talk about how he played as a true freshman. You take a look at Trevor Lawrence, last year in Clemson, and how he was a true freshman and lit up the world. See, here's the thing, and I'm not going to use the PJ Fleck excuse of, well, we're a young team. But here is where I agree with somebody saying something like, well, we're a young team. Think about how many freshmen, whether they're true or redshirt, that Nebraska is predicating their success on this year. You've got a redshirt freshman starting at center who did not even complete a full fall camp healthy. According to Scott Frost today, we're recording this Thursday night, so today Scott Frost said he's still not playing at 100%. We have a true freshman with Wan'Dale Robinson, who is such a stud that they're going to be playing him more at running back just so they can get the ball in his hands. That's kind of worrisome to me too, because it's one guy's job to get the ball into the hands of receivers. So we still don't know what's going on with Adrian. But offensively, you're predicating success on 2 freshmen right off the top. Right off the top. Then you're going to factor in a wide receiver who's in his first year in this program. He's a senior. He's a graduate transfer in Kennevi Noah, who, by the way, still has not he still doesn't have a reception going into week 3 of the season. Are you worried about that? Are you concerned with Kennevi Noah not having a time?
I am a little, just because he'd bring options to the table
And maybe some leadership?
I think so. He's a quiet kid. He's not going to. The problem is in that receivers room. You want to go there for just a minute. There's no vocal leaders in that room. Not really. Not yet. There may be.
I'm okay with that, but
I'm not.
Thinking about something, well, you're right, because usually you've got folks that are very loud. Wide receivers are known for
wide
talking.
Receivers and DBs are known, and J.D. Spielman has openly said, I don't lead with my voice. I lead with my actions on the field, and that's good. You need that.
Well, speaking of that, though, I mean, how valuable would having Cade Warner back in the lineup be?
I think he's nicked, and I think he's a guy that I look at him as, for lack of better words, Cade Warner, Kurt Warner's son, old, reliable.
Yeah,
that's great to have. You need that on your
receiver.
team too. He's a guy that we need 5, he'll get you 5. We need him clutch, he'll be a clutch guy. Clutch in the sense that if we need 5, he'll get you 5.
Not clutch as in he's going deep and he's burning past folks to get there.
Deceptive speed, though, but here nor there. He's a clutch guy. Clutch in the fact that he's old, reliable.
Now, how crazy is it that before the season started, you and I are sitting here talking about the depth at wide receiver? And right now, after one being suspended indefinitely, who very well could have been a playmaker, we don't know, because right now nobody's catching the damn ball. I would be interested to look at the catches and see. I'm pretty sure Mo Washington is probably leading the team in receptions.
Him or JD.
But that should tell you something.
I think that I'm more in shock of our tight ends. When Jack Stoll has 2 catches against Colorado for 4 yards, problem. Not Jack Stoll's problem.
What's wrong with Adrian Martinez?
What's wrong with him? I think I'm telling you,
Is it between the ears, or could there be something physical?
I don't think it's physical. I think it's between the ears and him trying to step up as a leader. I think the kid's gonna be a stud. I'm not doom and gloom on this season, but I think he's got the weight of the world. He's got a coaching staff that I personally think left him out to dry in the second half against Colorado.
Really?
I do. I think that they were ill prepared for that, and when the defense started slipping, we had one drive and one big play. Mo went 70-some yards on one play, and Adrian actually, I said at the post,
which was drawn up beautifully. By
it was. Adrian had one drive where you saw him start to take a little bit of command.
And then you had penalties.
And then
right?
you had penalties, and you had what seemed to me a fluster in overtime of we haven't been able to run up the middle all damn game, and you run up the middle.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because I said this to you. I said this to you on Saturday. I remember looking at you and saying, I have a problem with Scott Frost telling his team that they should never feel fear of failure. Okay, no fear of failure, right? But he feared throwing an interception. So he runs the football after he can't run the football all day long in overtime, when you know that your kicker and your backup kicker are both out, and your punter is going to have to be the leg to kick you a game-tying or a game-winning field goal.
Did you see that they're actually interviewing kids on the club soccer teams for
one kid is going to have an opportunity, perhaps, and if nothing else, Scott Frost said today, to take a few kickoffs through the end zone.
A lot of my bitches and gripes on this show are optics. They're optics. Are me and Boom sitting in the locker room?
Perception is reality.
Perception is reality. They're optics. This can completely change. Again, I'm not throwing the season away.
Neither am I.
But I can tell you this, optics-wise, we got caught with our pants down in the second half of the Colorado game. We didn't come out with our hair on fire in week one. It is what it is. Everybody has a down week. Everybody in the country, including the famous Alabama and Clemson, have down weeks. Trevor Lawrence, to start the season at Clemson, didn't play that great. To start, he didn't play that great. He's picked it up, and they're just fine now. They're humming.
Nebraska didn't have just a down week. Like, literally what comes to my mind is Stevie Nicks, right? And the landslide brought them to – is it going to be a landslide? That's what you have to ask yourself. That's what you have to wonder. And if we're still wondering that as fans, tell me that the team who has had problems in between the ears for at least 3 to 4 years now, that's probably what lost them the football game, Shutsy. It's not physical, it's all mental. They haven't learned how to kill. And in the back of their mind, and I think you and I both, before the season started, thought that was gone. I think we've been preaching pump the brakes, but I don't think you or I, before the season started, thought to ourselves, that little tiny seed of doubt is still planted in the back of their brain that what's going to go wrong next. We sure should have
that seed. I didn't think was going to happen,
but I think it's still there.
But I did know this going into the season. What are you basing on? What he did at Central Florida? I don't want to go down this road because I'm tired of talking about Central Florida, quite honestly. You want to know the truth? I think top to bottom on that roster at Central Florida, way better than Nebraska's. Way better. What he inherited when he walked into the door.
Maybe.
At the skill positions all day long. McKenzie Milton in their backfield and the receivers that they had, yeah.
He made McKenzie Milton. I'm not saying that he inherited.
Yeah.
He coached McKenzie Milton up. Is McKenzie Milton playing in the league?
Did Tommy Frazier play in the league?
No. But I don't think McKenzie Milton. He made McKenzie Milton. Let's take a look at the talent. They beat Auburn. I'll give them that. They beat Auburn. What kind of talent were they playing against everyone?
Well, we'll see this weekend. All I'm saying is this. You came into the season and you've got starters across the board, offense and defense. Do they know how to win? What's that based on? As starters, do they know how to win? They're 4-8 the last 2 years. What's success? I said this before the season, me and the old coach, the old ball coach. Excuse me. I said to him, what is success? 8 wins doubles what you've done in the last 2 years. and that may be a reality this year. In fact, Scott better pray it's 8. He better hope it's 8. Bill Moose, the AD, thinks 6 would be good. And we laughed. Scott laughed at Big Ten Media Days at 6.
I bet Scott's not laughing anymore.
No. And listen, again, week to week, this can completely change. On to the Northern Illinois preview.
Let's turn the page and do a little preview here of what you expect, man.
What do I expect? I expect Nebraska to roll. I do. I think Nebraska is going to roll. But I'll say this. I guess it's one of the old, what do you hope, what do you fear, what do you expect? I hope Nebraska rolls. I fear this is a dogfight. It better not be. For Scott's sake, for the team's sake, for the future of this team, this season, I'll give Northern Illinois this. They've played enough big boys since the last decade.
They have beaten enough big boys over the last decade.
They've played enough big boys, beaten enough big boys. Folks, last time they came to town, they won. That was the Mike Riley Farewell Tour. Remember that clown?
Yes, I do.
That was bye-bye to Sean Eichel. This team is not going to be intimidated in the slightest coming in here.
Why should they be?
And if Nebraska dicks around, this is going to be a dogfight. If Nebraska does what Nebraska did in the first half against Colorado, they'll be just fine. If they keep that, here's the famous word again, consistency. I think my prediction is this. They dick around, and it's a dogfight by halftime, and I'm talking it's within 10. Strap them up, boys. I think Nebraska wins 20-plus points. I think Scott's got to have that. I think the team's got to have that. A nice 42-17, a nice 42-21. You need that. They need that to happen.
Well, what I hope is Nebraska has a solid 4-quarter. What I hope for is the first 4-quarter complete football game on both sides of the football. That's my hope. And that we get through this game, the final game before Big Ten play begins, injury-free. That's always going to be a hope for me. That's an automatic hope. Injury-free and a complete 4-quarter game.
You told me before the season, you said, Scott, we talked about master plans and grand scheme, and it's clear the way that Scott's playing the offensive line, he's playing long ball. We're playing long ball here. I'm for the long run of this team. That's why I have a freshman who's never played the position starting. That's why I have a walk-on sophomore playing the position who's got 2 starts under his belt. Scott is playing this for the overhaul of the long run. You said something interesting to me. You said, I think Scott's more worried about, well, he doesn't want to lose any game. Nobody does.
The non-con?
The non-con.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the case. You can see it. He didn't take Cam out of that game. He did not take Hickson out.
There was no pitch count for Cam.
No.
When there was the talk leading up to last week, there was a talk of pitch count.
I think he knows that I've got to get this kid's reps.
Because he's the guy.
He is the guy. I will, just to throw a sidebar in there, would you be surprised if a guard, we're not going to say which because really we don't know. We have an idea.
Yes, I think Farniok is going to be seen at some point at one or both of those guard positions, yes.
I think so too.
Because I think that's going to have to happen in order for things to be fixed.
I think
fully fixed.
And keep your eye on that one. That's going to be an interesting. I think Nebraska rolls. I'm going to go with a prediction of, because Boom gave me shit that I can no longer give 2 predictions. And it wasn't really 2. It was how I saw the game.
I know. I'm just giving you shit.
But I think Nebraska 42. I'd love to see 42-14. But my final, I'm going to go 42-20 Nebraska.
Okay. That's fair. So I gave you my hope. My fear, injury. My top fear. My top fear is injury at a skill position or offensive line or any position from any starter. Offensively, especially. An offensive injury of significance. That's my biggest fear. Of course, my other fear would be a loss, which not outside of the realm of possibility, which I wouldn't have said. I wouldn't have said that if we had won last week. Would not be even talking about a loss this week.
Would you have said it, though? Would you have said it if Nebraska, let's say they make that field goal, go into second overtime and win? Would you say it then?
No.
Because they found a way to win.
Because they found a way to win against a team that wasn't coached by P.J. Fleck or Bethune-Cookman.
Now you're hating on Flecky.
Well, listen, I'm a little.
Isn't he a clown?
No, well, yes, but I'm a little raw because he's undefeated right now. That's jealousy. Right now, it's jealousy. because the quote used car salesman looks a lot sweeter right now than old Scott Frost because his team's 2-0. His team found a way to win in overtime.
Young season. Young.
And then here's what I think I am going to see on Saturday, or I'm not going to see it. Here's what I think happens on Saturday. I think that Nebraska's offense clicks at times and then sputters. I think that the defense carries this team through 4 quarters of football. I think Nebraska wins. I do not think Nebraska covers the 12-point spread. 14-point spread. I'm going to say a 12-point victory. I'm going to say Nebraska by 12. I'm going to say Nebraska scores somewhere in between 30 and 35 points.
Really?
30 to 35 points, and I think they win by 12.
Do you see that Cam Taylor-Britt starting safety? That kid, I don't think...
Didn't he have a few... Didn't he blow coverage?
He blew the flea flicker.
That was him. Hopefully he learns.
Well, it's something when you find out that Williams is out for the season.
Yes.
And I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, if I looked at the stat sheet right, Cam Taylor-Britt, didn't come off the field the entire game. And they got him starting at safety. I find that an interesting twist. I would have thought it'd been somebody like Eric Lee. But it's not. It's him. And again, you go talking about all in on people. I think the kid is a stud, by the way. You're going to have mistakes. Everybody does. I think hopefully he learned his. He bit on a freaking flea flicker. But anyway, it is what it is.
35-23.
35-23.
35-23, and they score once on either directly from a Nebraska turnover. It might even be a short field type thing. But they get at least one score.
Oh, you're talking about Northern Illinois?
Northern Illinois gets one score based upon an offensive mistake from Nebraska.
Okay.
35-23.
I'm saying 42-20. I'm going to stick with it, but that 20, that seems high to me. I don't think Mo Berry's going to allow it.
We'll see.
I think Mo Berry himself, if he has to, will run around and tackle players by himself. Tell everybody just stand there, get in the way. I'm going to tackle him. That kid is on a mission. I think they're going to score 20. But I'll go with you. I'd even buy that they'll get a special teams because our special teams is still wish-washy.
It's very suspect. It could be a fumble and a punt.
Or a punt returned by them.
I think they get a score 7, not 3. 7 off directly from a pick 6. It's not like Adrian is above throwing to the other team. He's been doing that a lot this season. I think he's on pace to. I think he's got half as many, about close to probably. I don't know. I know he fumbled the ball a few times on Saturday. He's the offense just isn't clicking. I don't think that they get things completely right. I think they're better this week. I don't think they make quite as many mistakes, but I think that they are still the unit that holds this team back for another week.
You and I both talked about how the defense may have to, before the season,
is
going to have to carry, but by the non-con, well, the team's got 1 week. They got 1 week, and we play big boy ball, real big boy ball. That's my thoughts on it. 42-20, Boom's going with some wacky score with safeties. And
35-23.
Okay, we're not far off, actually, you and I. All right, well, we'll see. Me and the Oracle are going to be down there tailgating in our buddy Jack's.
I'm going to be watching Clemson.
We'll have alerts, guys, for you. Check out our social media. Please help us on it. We love it.
Maybe Shutsy should take over the Row 87 Twitter feed and maybe tweet from Memorial Stadium.
I'll see what I can do.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll take it over.
We'll figure it out.
Check us out, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Go to row87.com.
Hit up the website. Make sure to follow us on Spotify if that's how you get your MP3s. Good God. If that's how you get your podcasts.
If you're in the Pick'em League, it might be a little late for you, but hey, for grins, if you want to, you can still join. For those of you are involved, there's a couple of you that are lagging, not picking your teams. Pick your damn teams.
As Zach, I think your boy Zach is one of them who forgot to pick last week.
Yeah, he's got to pick it up. Who's winning right now, Boom? Who's winning?
Actually, you and Ron are tied at the top.
I picked some wacky ones this week. I'm probably going to be. It's going to
You-
bite me.
you-
This week I
you-
picked some wacky ones.
You and Ron are tied atop, and Steven and I are right behind. Well, we're 3 points, which is weird because I think picking the tiebreaker factors into the score
Yep.
somehow, some way. So 3 points could very easily be made up depending on probably how close your score prediction is. I don't know how they determine the points you get for that, but you do get weekly points based on that, not just picking the games. So right now, yeah, Shutzy and Ron have a 3-point lead over the coach and I.
We're going to meet up with Ashley next week, our managing editor. We got a lot of content coming your way. Follow us on all of our social media.
All of it.
We will be back with you guys. I'll have a post-game reaction for you and some tweets from the game. Definitely a post-game reaction.
Rocky Top, baby.
Oh, yeah, your boys. We'll be back with you next week. With that, I'm Shutz.
I'm Boom.
We'll see you later.